G'day guys, Dean from Blog for the Blood God here, and today's video is going to be the first of my new upcoming series covering the Red Corsairs. For those of you who have been following my Masterclass Chaos Legion series, you'll know that I've done Night Lords, I've done Alpha Legion, I've done Black Legion stuff, I've done fucking Word Bearers stuff, I've done Emperor's Children stuff, and I've done Iron Warriors stuff. So it's come time for the Red Corsairs to have their go. I'm going to do this one in a slightly different structure than my previous masterclass, where I'm going to be doing a few videos breaking down specific combos first, and then I'm going to do a few pieces talking about some of the specific warlord traits, relics, that sort of stuff, and then I'm going to bring it all together at the end with one longer video that's going to be a top-down, front-to-back review of the Red Corsairs and go through every option. So I'm going to start off with some of the specific highlights, the powerful combos, and then I'll break it down at the end with an all-encompassing masterclass video. So with that being said, in today's video, we're going to be talking about a really fucking insane combo that you can do with Red Corsairs bikers. So with that being said, we're going to jump straight into the video, but before we do, just a quick reminder to like, subscribe, all that good shit. Chuck a comment below, let's get a conversation going, and if you want to support the channel, you can attach a donation to your comment by using the YouTube Super Thanks feature. It's a really good way to let me know that you appreciate the content, show your support. It allows me to continue to improve the channel. And yeah, so they're all very appreciated, those super thanks, and let's get into the video.
Blog for the Blood God.
Alrighty, so Red Corsairs bikers. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk about the specific warlord traits, relics, combos, and components that make an epic Red Corsairs biker unit, and then I'm actually going to set up the table and I'm going to show you guys some really specifics on how to field it on the table. So with that being said, let's get into the first component, which is a warlord trait. It's called Dark Raider, and it allows you to, once per turn in your shooting phase, after shooting with a friendly Red Corsairs core unit within 6 inches of the warlord, that unit can make a normal move. If it does so, that unit is not eligible to declare a charge this turn. Alright, so basically what this allows your bikers to do is to shoot and then move again, which if you have assault weapons in the unit means that you're going to be able to move 20 inches in your movement phase, because you can move 14 and then advance a further 6 at 20 inches, then shoot something with your, maybe it's a flamer, maybe it's a melter gun, either way, assault weapons, because you can shoot them after moving, then you'll be able to move an additional 14. So this is a really powerful movement combo, and that's going to play really well into what we're going to do with this unit. But that's just one of the many elements that make this a very powerful combo. Alright, the next one is a stratagem called the Hounds of Huron. So it costs 2 command points. You use this stratagem in the fight phase after a Red Corsairs biker unit from your army has fought. If that unit was within engagement range of enemy units, it can fall back as if it were your movement phase. Otherwise, it can make a normal move as if it were your movement phase. Alright, so there's a few things that you can do here. You could combo it with the previous warlord trait that we're talking about. So now you can move your 20 inches with your advance, you can shoot something, you can move again, and then in the fight phase, you can move again, or you can move your 20 inches, charge something, then in the fight phase, after you make your attacks, you can then move again. So now you're getting your 20 inches plus your charge distance, plus your pile-ins, plus your consolidates, plus another 14 inches worth of movement. So you can actually zip these cunts right across the table. And these two elements pair well with the Red Corsairs' ability to advance and charge to make the biker unit insanely fast. That being said, being fast is not enough. We need to be able to do things with these units. So let's talk about some of the different buffs that you can put on a Red Corsairs bike unit to really dial up the crazy. Alright, so the first thing that I recommend doing with the Red Corsairs bikers is to make the Mark of Nurgle. And what this does is it means that each time an attack is made against the unit, if the strength characteristic of that attack equals or is at least double the characteristic of this unit, you subtract 1 from the wound roll. And as bikers can take an icon, this also means that each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, an unmodified hit roll of a 6 automatically wounds the target. Alright, so the Mark of Nurgle's ability to make you that little bit more durable is obviously very powerful, because it means you've got strength 5 weapons where they're going to be normally winning you on 4s, you now push them back to winning you on 5s, and anything that's strength 10 or higher that would normally be winning you on 2s, you're pushing back to winning you on 3s. So that's a really good durability buff there. It also means that you're doing a little bit more damage with your bolters. This unit of bikes, if you take a max size unit, it's putting out a fuck ton of bolter shots. So being able to use this to increase the damage output by automatically wounding on 6s is just a very powerful thing to have, especially because you're going to be getting on your hit rolls of 6, you're going to get exploding attacks with your wanton acts, then getting the exploding wounds as well. It's just a very powerful combo. But the main reason that we want to take Mark of Nurgle is because it unlocks another couple of things that make them even crazier. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is a prayer to the dark gods called Feculent Beseechment. And basically, if this prayer is heard, select one friendly Legion Nurgle core or Legion Nurgle character within 6 inches of the priest and add 1 to the toughness characteristic of models in that unit. Alright, so now you're taking those toughness 5 bikes and you're bumping them up to toughness 6, which is really powerful. And this is because they're a Nurgle core unit as being bikes, so you're getting these toughness 6 bikes with the Mark of Nurgle, which means any strength 6 weapons are now winning you on 5s, and something needs to be strength 12 to be winning you on 3s, so it's really, really durable. But that's not all, we got plenty more to come. Alright, next you're going to have a Malefic Discipline Master of Possessions, and he's going to cast Mutated Invigoration, which is a blessing. It's a warp charge value of 6, and if manifested, select one friendly Legion unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, add 1 to either the strength or toughness characteristic of models in that unit. Alright, so now we're talking about toughness 7 on these bikes, because you've got toughness 5 naturally, plus 1 from your prayer, plus another 1 from this psychic power. That's going to push you up to toughness 7, which is going to be really fucking crazy. And in addition to this, playing with toughness is something where you can go, okay, in this specific situation, your opponent maybe only has toughness 5 weapons. So the difference between toughness 6 and toughness 7 isn't very relevant, in which case you'd apply +1 strength to the unit instead, because you get to choose whether you want to buff their strength or their toughness. So this allows you to, in some situations, push yourself past that break point to make a really fucking tough unit, but in certain situations it's not going to matter, and then you can pivot onto making them actually strong in combat as well. So this has got a lot of versatility, and this is also a really, really powerful thing. But let's talk about the next thing that you can do to take a toughness 7 unit and make it really fucking insane. Alright, you all know it, you all hate it or love it, depending on your perspective, but it's called the Black Rune of Damnation. And basically, each time an attack is made against the bearer's unit, you subtract 1 from that attack's wound roll. And the bearer has the following ability, Black Rune of Damnation Aura. While an enemy Psyker is within 18 inches of the bearer, each time a psychic test is taken for that unit, it suffers Aparrels of the Warp on any roll of a double. Alright, so we've all seen this used on Chaos Terminators, which is the main go-to for everybody these days, but I think putting it on this biker unit that's toughness 7 is just next level insane. Because something that's toughness 7 with neg 1 to wound means even strength 6 weapons will be wounding you on a 6. So things like Avenger Gatling cannons on knights, you know, things like that that are considered to be very big damage dealing weapons are gonna really fucking struggle to put any damage on your bikes. And also, because you have that neg 1 to wound and the Mark of Nurgle, this means that if your opponent has any ability to put +1 to wound on themselves, there's every possibility that they're still going to suffer the -1. So things like Blood Angels charging you in with strength 6 attacks. It's like, okay, cool, you're strength 6, so you get +1 to wound, but I'm neg 1 to wound, and if I'm toughness 6, that would apply a second neg 1 to wound. So you can sort of play around with that sort of stuff and really just make it fucking hard for your opponent to wound you. Alright, this is a crazy combo video though, so we're not done. Let's talk about Putrid Miasma. Now, as we talked about before, we've taken a Master of Possession, so if we give him the Putrid Miasma power, because he'll be Mark of Nurgle, that means that he can select one Legion Nurgle unit from your army within 18 inches, and until the end of your Psychic phase, you must subtract 1 from the attack's wound roll when targeting this unit. Alright, so now we've got a toughness 7 unit of bikers that are neg 1 to wound and will apply a further neg 1 to wound if the attack targeting them is strength 7 or 14 or higher. And on top of that, it has a neg 1 to hit. So it's neg 1 to hit, neg 1 to wound, toughness 7. Good luck fucking killing that. I don't like your chances. This thing is going to be a really tough cookie to crack. And if you take a max squad size, you've got 3 wounds per model. They are tough. They are big. This is a tough unit to kill. But wait, there's more. Imagine you're about to get hit by a strength 16 attack, like maybe a bloodthirster's come in with his big axe and he's going to do that massive amounts of damage to you, and you're actually legitimately concerned about it. Because you're toughness 7, he would normally be wounding you on 2s, but because you have the Mark of Nurgle, that pushes him back to wounding you on 3s, and then you have the Black Rune of Damnation. Now, unfortunately, you can't stack negative wound modifiers, which means he would be able to wound you on 3s. However, there is a stratagem that will allow you to effectively apply transhuman to the unit. Because it's got Mark of Nurgle, it means your opponent can never wound you on a 1, 2, or a 3. So even in those real dire situations where someone's about to hit you with something really serious, you can always transhuman to make it so they're only wounding you on a 4. So anything strength 6 or lower is going to be wounding you on 6s no matter what they do, and anything that's significantly scary, you can always just fall back onto that transhuman and push them back to only wounding you on a 4+. Alright, that more or less rounds out the way that this combo works. So now let's put some models on the table and just show you just how crazy that movement is, and some of the reasons why you might want to consider wielding this unit, and some of the ways that you can utilize this unit to fuck with your opponent's game plan. Alrighty guys, what we have here to demonstrate this example is a nasty, monstrous Tyrannid list along the side here. We've got a bunch of Exocrines, a bunch of Trigons, a bunch of whatever they're called, Scythed Hierodules, some psychic damage from these Zoanthropes here. Really scary monster mash list. But on the Chaos side, we've got our unit of Bikers in here. We've got a Dark Apostle there as well for our Nurgle prayers. And we've got a Rhino here with a Master of Possessions inside. So basically what we're going to do is in the command phase, we're going to activate our prayer to put +1 toughness on those bikes. Now it's worth noting that obviously in certain situations that +1 toughness is not going to be relevant. Like we said, when it comes time to deciding whether you want the strength or the toughness buffs, you'll have to make that decision on a case-by-case basis. And in those scenarios, you might go for Illusory Supplication instead to get that negative, make it so you can't be hit on a 1, 2, or 3. So you'll have to make that decision on a case-by-case basis, but for this example, we're going with the toughness. And then basically what we're going to do is you do that prayer, then we're going to disembark out our Master of Possessions with an advance move. So he basically now gets to disembark from the Rhino 3 inches, then move further 8 inches, which essentially gives him approximately an 11-inch move, because of the 2-inch advance outside of that Rhino. So he's going to move all the way up to there. Then these Bikers are going to move, and they could move 20 inches with an advance. Now there's 2 different combos here that we can do, so we'll talk about both of them. But basically the front guy is going to move his 20 inches to there, and then the rest of them are more or less going to swing around to behind in a line like so. So they got their toughness buff from the Apostle, and then they get their buff from the Master of Possessions now. And basically the Master of Possessions, he's now going to use his Ritual Dagger. He's going to do D3 mortal wounds to the Bikers, which I just did 2. And then he's going to cast Mutated Invigoration, which that goes off, and basically now puts a further +1 toughness on them. Now he's going to do his second power. He's going to put another D3 mortal wounds on for another 2, which is enough to kill a Biker. And then he's going to do Pact of Flesh, which goes off on a 7, which allows him to resurrect another model. And as long as that model's placed within coherency of 2 models, so hypothetically what you would do when you moved them is you'd move like that. So you've got 2 models at the front, and then you can place him within 2 inches there. So he's now within coherency. So that resurrection has gained us almost 6 inches worth of additional movement. And now they can declare a charge. So let's say hypothetically we just charge this lad here, and you go, cool, we just rolled a 9 for our charge, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to move this guy into that gap there. We're going to move this guy into that gap there, and then the rest of them are going to sort of move around like so. And then this is where it gets a little bit funky with the pile-in moves, right? So I'm being a bit fast and loose with the movements here, but you get the gist, right? Now, with those pile-in moves, these guys are going to basically go in there, base contact there. These guys are going to go in there, base contact there, with pylons and consolidates, and you've basically just base contacted all of these guys. Now you could, it doesn't matter what damage you do with your attacks, right? Because you've essentially just made it so that if these guys want to fall back, they can't smite, and if they do smite, they have to smite into your bikers. These guys can't shoot because they're touched by the bikers. This guy can't fall back and charge. This guy can't shoot. So you've just tied up this whole area of your opponent's army turn one. And meanwhile, obviously, the rest of your army is moving up this way. You've probably had something else in that rhino as well. They've probably moved out with the Master of Possessions. You probably got like a unit of Chosen, for example, there. And you basically, now you've isolated this section so you can focus on killing these couple of things, and you've neutered all of this stuff. Now, what you could do, because we didn't use the shoot and then move ability, we could make a move now. So after our consolidates, we're able to make a move. And basically what you could do is now you can move 14 inches, right? Which is going to allow you to move. This is the other alternative. So you want to either stay in combat with them so that they can't fall back, they can't shoot, they can't do anything like that. Or you want to use your move to basically go something to this effect. And now you've move blocked your opponent. So this is what you would do if you're against something that was more combat oriented, because these guys, now that you've fallen back out of that combat, they're eligible to shoot. These guys are now eligible to do their psychic powers. This guy's eligible to do charges, so you're allowing your opponent a lot more ability here. However, what you've done now is if these were all combat-oriented monsters, you've made it so that, you know, this guy, he can't really charge any of your valuable stuff over here because he would have to move around the bikes. And realistically, this unit of bikes could be strung out even further because 2 inches on their coherency is actually quite large. So realistically, you could probably get something a bit more like that. So you've left 2-inch gap between each one of these models. You've got an anchor where there's these two guys within 2 inches of each other, both within 2 inches of him. He's within 2 inches of him and him. He's within 2 inches of him and him. So as long as you have triangles at the end of your line, you've maintained coherency, and you've created this long line that's going to block your opponent. They actually can't move out of their deployment zone now in the movement phase. Unless they have fly or anything like that, then of course they can. So this is scenario 2, where you go, cool, I move up, I charge in, and then instead of locking them in combat, I'm gonna fall back and create a line where they now can't move past. Meanwhile, you've got all of your elements that would be vulnerable to combat are able to freely move up and take the center of the table. So that's a really powerful combo. And then the third alternative, which is just as viable, is to essentially do that same pre-game move, do the same resurrection with the Master of Possessions, but then shoot a melter gun into this guy or a flamer into this guy, and that allows you to then make another move, and then you use that move to string out like so. So it all depends on the situation and what kind of scenario you're trying to create. This is the best one against combat heavy things. So if you're versing, say, a knight army where they've got lots of combat heavy Imperial Knights, this fucks them. Because you do this and sure, they're gonna now hit that biker unit, but it's toughness 7 with neg 1 to be wounded and neg 1 to be hit. So it's very, very hard to kill. Because what we can do is this guy uses the Liber Hereticus relic to cast 3 powers. So his first power, he puts +1 toughness. His second power, he uses to resurrect a guy to get closer. And then his third power is to put the neg 1 to be hit on them. So this unit, if your opponent tries to deal with it, which they're going to have to try to deal with it, they're really gonna struggle to chew through it all. And even if they do manage to kill it, and they're a combat knight army, they're still where they are. Like, you know, if hypothetically, if these were all knights, he's just gonna move to there, he's gonna move to there, he's gonna move to there, he's gonna move to there, and they're gonna punch you. But you don't care because your whole point of that unit was to block them in their deployment zone. And then what you can also do, obviously, is as they start killing things, you can remove casualties in a clever way to prevent them from being able to do any further damage. So say he attacks with this guy first and kills 3 bikes. You can go, cool, I'm going to remove these 3. And now that guy over there is not eligible to fight because he's not within engagement range of anyone. And he didn't declare a charge this turn or heroically intervene. So he can't do anything. And then, you know, maybe this guy also can't do anything. So they've charged forward, but you've mitigated their damage. And then when they fight with, say, this guy next, you go, cool, I'll remove these 2 guys. And now that guy can't fight. And your opponent's out of fights. So now in your turn, you still have half of that unit of bikes left. So removing casualties will be really important to the way you wield this in that sort of melee matchup. And then obviously into the shooting matchup, doing that charge and just tagging everything and staying in combat with it all is really good because often shooting armies aren't going to have the combat punch to dig themselves out. You know, like in this specific matchup, these guys all of them are pretty much going to be winning you on 6s in combat. You know, there's not a massive amount of strength, 14 in here. These guys will do good work, but you've blocked them. They won't be able to fit because they can't charge through their own stuff. So depending on where you've placed your models, you might actually be able to go, cool, he's engaged, and they're engaged. But this guy can't actually charge your bikes because he can't fit through anywhere. So you can do really crazy things with these biker unit. It's absolutely fucking insane what they can do. And then the amount of damage that it takes to put them down is also insane. So I guess the cons to it, the weaknesses to this strategy is mortal wounds. Like they don't have any feel no pain against mortal wounds because instead of Mark of Slanesh, we're taking him as Mark of Nurgle in order to get that toughness really dialed up to 11 and also in order to get the neg 1 to hit. I think the Nurgle is the superior combo. However, an argument could be made that Mark of Slanesh is better because you can put Delightful Agonies on them, and because obviously that gives you always fights first, it gives you +1 to hit in melee with your icon, it gives you access to a bunch of different stratagems as well that are all very powerful. So Mark of Slanesh is another way to go. But for me, I personally think the Mark of Nurgle is crazy. Toughness 7 with neg 1 to hit, neg 1 to wound, and this kind of movement is crazy. A lot of things that are in that sort of hyper durable category of toughness 7, neg 1 to wound, neg 1 to hit, that's a unit you would consider a hyper durable anvil of sorts. But being able to throw your anvil at them like this is fucking problem. That's a real problem. Blood Angels are gonna hate it. Everybody's gonna hate it because even the Blood Angels, they're not gonna be able to chew through this. And if you've just tagged them all, they have no options. They have to kind of try to chew through it. So yeah, that's the crazy Red Corsairs biker combo. Alrighty, so there you have it guys, the first video on the Red Corsairs of many to come. So I wanted to start off hard with a really strong combo. There's plenty of other combos specific to the Red Corsairs that are absolutely game winning in certain matchups. So I'm planning to go through all of the combos one by one with a detailed video like this, showing you how it works, what components are required, all of the key elements, the strengths and the weaknesses to the combo, what to do with it, all of that sort of shit. I'm going to do that for each combo, and then at the end, I'm going to do a full coverage of the entirety of the Red Corsairs, all of the stratagems, all of the warlord traits, their secondary objective, and I'll also in that video break down a few different list types that are going to include some of the elements that we've discussed in these videos. So if you're a Red Corsairs fan, hold on to your fucking seat because this is going to be a wild ride. And if you're just a Chaos Space Marine player in general, maybe Red Corsairs is something that you need to look into and consider because there's some serious fucking power in this legion. And even if you're not a Chaos Space Marine player and you don't even like Red Corsairs, watching this video will hopefully give you some information about the tricks that the Red Corsairs can do so that if you get paired into a Red Corsairs player, they don't pull a gotcha. You'll be able to go, okay, cool, I know those bikes are super fast. I know those bikes are super fucking tough. I need to make sure that I deploy in such a way that I'm not blocking my own movement so that they can't pin me in, so that they can't do all the crazy stuff that I just showcased in this video. So thanks again for tuning in. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and let's fill that comment section. Let me know what you guys think of this strategy. Let me know if it's something that you think is viable and if you think it's powerful, or if you think it's too expensive, too prohibitive, the fact that it requires warlord traits, relics, stratagems, big, expensive, 300-point units. Like, if you think that that's a bit of a crutch and that it's going to fall apart because people can take it out, let me know what you think. Let me know if somebody came up to you and did this trick to you, do you think your army would be able to dig its way out? Let me know what you guys think. And if you want to show your support, a super thanks is a great way to do it. You can chuck $1 here and there. It's a really good way of putting specific donations to specific content, as opposed to the Patreon where you get the one-on-one coaching advice and list advice with me, but it's more general. A super thanks is a really good way of going, you know what, that video specifically was good. I want to reward that, encourage that. So let me know what you guys think. Chuck those super thanks in. Check me out on Patreon, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
The Warhammer community suffers from some of the most prohibitively expensive essentials in the world, especially Australian content creators. Every single day, Dean wants to create content, but he can't. Suffering from old, worn-out brushes, expensive model kits, and costly software and equipment, he can't endure much longer. Just look at this dirty paint water. Would you drink this? Would you let your child? Even a small monthly donation can help provide Dean with clean paint water, basic tools for survival, and access to life-saving information and education. So please, follow the links in the description below and find out how you can sponsor a mad cunt like Dean today and end the suffering. Suffering that is cruel, unsustainable, and your fault.
Do your objective markers ever get lost behind terrain or other models and become difficult to see? Do they ever get bumped and accidentally moved during a game? And do they ever spark arguments about distances? Well, not anymore. Introducing the blog for the Blood God, not even remotely patented neoprene objective markers. Made from the same material as astronaut suits, or maybe military equipment, or probably neither of those things, this 2mm thick neoprene synthetic rubber is tear resistant, water resistant, and is designed to last. But that's not all. The blog for the Blood God, not even remotely patented neoprene objective markers come in a variety of different designs and styles to suit any faction represented in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. These objective markers are a perfect gift for yourself or a friend, and are a perfect way to flex and show your opponent that not only are you a smarter, cooler, and better 40k player than them, but you also have more disposable income than they do. For the low price of $25, you'll get not 1, not 2, but 6 neoprene objective markers, perfectly designed for 9th edition Warhammer 40k. But wait, there's more. For a limited time only, people who sign up on Patreon to support Blog for the Blood God as a Skull Champion tier $5 per month member will gain access to a custom design service where I will design a unique logo to support their gaming club, like the one I did to the left here for the Potato Farmers local gaming club here in Melbourne. Follow the links in the description of this video to pick up your set today.